Are we? Can we start? Are we ready to start? Please settle down. Please settle down. Thank you very much. Minister, you are still under oath, as you have been almost the whole week. Mr. Maleka.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Judge, I had proposed to deal with the remaining of the reasons given by the Minister on page 21 of his statement, and that is the reasons that appear in paragraph 65.2 and 65.3 together. Minister, are you at page 21 of your witness bundle?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. You will see that in paragraph 65.2, you say the work of the work streams, their composition, objectives, and technical reports were not, I believe, at issue nor relevant to the question the Constitutional Court has raised. You see that? In other words, the reason why you did not disclose the establishment of the work stream, their composition, their mandate, what they sought to achieve, and the various reports they presented, was that you took the view that that was not relevant for the purposes of the Constitutional Court proceedings. At this stage, I don't want to debate with you whether or not you were correct in the view you took that that information was not relevant. Of course, that debate will happen later before the judge at the end of the proceedings. But what I want to explore with you are a number of facts that were known to you by the time you formed that view. The first is this, that you knew that the establishment of the work streams and the objective you sought to achieve by establishing them was, amongst others, because of the Constitutional Court judgment. Correct? Yes. And
Nanokuthi kaSASSA bebengekho abantu abangenza lo msebenzi ofuna ukwenzeka.
Additional to that is the fact that the kind of people within expertise to discharge the work did not exist within SASSA.
yes, and I'd like to explore the facts with reference to the two reasons that we have now identified. The first is the one that I suggested to you, that the reason for the existence and the objective of the work streams was the judgment of the court below, the judgment of the Constitutional Court. And the second reason you now give is that SASSA itself did not have the necessary capacity in order to ensure that it meets the deadline of March 2017. Someone had to assist SASSA in order to meet the deadline arising from the judgment of the Constitutional Court. Correct?
Yeah,
Yes, partly.
And it is because of that lack of capacity that you thought wise to establish the work streams and for them to develop the mandate. Correct?
yeah.
Yes.
In fact, to cut it short, Minister, can I ask you to go to paragraph 30.3 of your statement? Judges, it is on page 10 of the Minister's affidavit. You see that, Minister?
Yep.
Paragraph 30.3 confirms that the attitude you took was because of lack of capacity and because of the agency relating to the deadline arising from the judgment of the Constitutional Court.
Yep.
You decided to establish the work streams.
Yes.
At that point in time, the Constitutional Court was unaware that you had established the work streams, correct? All that was before the Constitutional Court at that point in time was the report of the Ministerial Task Team, which had identified the 7 objectives in
The advisory committee.
the advisory committee indeed. Correct?
Judge, perhaps my learned colleague would remember the first report to the Constitutional Court had been tabled referring to the work streams. So the proposition is not correct.
No, Judge. The point is, the report of the Ministerial Advisory Committee referred to the work streams. But at that point in time, the work streams had not been established. And therefore, the proposition is, the Constitutional Court did not know that you had established the work streams after you had presented the report of the Ministerial Advisory Committee, correct? That is an event which later arose after the presentation of that report, correct?
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi ngithi angazi ngoba ngizolokhu ngikhuluma into
The
Well, I
deadline,
may
is-
rather say I do not know because I might be saying much.
the deadline, the sequence is fairly straightforward. The report of the Ministerial Advisory Committee was presented to the Constitutional Court in, I think it was September or November, October 2015. 24, is it 2015? 2015, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
And your decision to establish the advisory committee was made, taken, and communicated to Mrs. Peterson in July 2015, 2016, correct?
The establishment of the work streams.
The work streams, yes.
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 In other words, you established the work streams more than a year after you had already placed before the Constitutional Court the report of the Ministerial Advisory Committee.
No.
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 Am I lost? My understanding is this, and please help me, the Minister. In the sequence of events, the first thing that happened is you presented to the Constitutional Court the report of the Ministerial Advisory Committee.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ngendlela yiko ngithe eqaleni kuya ngokuthi ungaphakathi ekhulumeni noma ungaphandle.
Well-
Phakathi sorry.
As I said, it depends on whether you are talking as an outsider or as an outsider in relation to government.
Ngoba okokuqala sa yenza procurement yama work stream kwathatha isikhathi eside ukuthi kuqale nje umsebenzi.
Because we went through the procurement process for the establishment of the work streams, and it took a long time before the work actually started happening.
Minister, can I ask you to look at paragraph 22 of your statement? You will see that in that paragraph you say that the advisory committee, which I take to be the Ministerial Advisory Committee, concluded its work in March 2015. Do you see that?
Yep.
Yes,
And that must be correct.
Correct.
Yes.
that is correct.
And in its report, advisory committee recommended the establishment of the work streams, correct?
Yeah.
And it is that report of the advisory committee together with the recommendation that you placed before the Constitutional Court, correct?
Ngicela uphinde.
Repeat, please.
SASSA had placed something before the Constitutional Court in order to give the Constitutional Court some comfort about the capacity of SASSA to institute the payment of the grants by the deadline of March 2017, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that which was placed before the Constitutional Court was based on the recommendation of the Ministerial Committee, Advisory Committee.
Yeah. It's ngithi yebo.
Yes. Let me say yes.
Really, the point I want to make is that by the time SASSA gave the comfort to the Constitutional Court about its ability to take over the payment of the grant by March 2017, you had not yet established the ministerial work streams, correct?
SASSA sihamba siku process code ye establishment yama work stream.
We're already in the process of establishing work streams.
I understand and accept that. But the
How
point,
about, if I may suggest, unless I misunderstand the whole thing, how about just saying the report was submitted, is the 15th of what? 2050 to the Constitutional Court.
November 15.
5 November. The report was submitted to the Constitutional Court on 5 November
2015.
2015.
Yeah.
The work streams were established in June, July 2016.
Yeah.
Yes.
yes.
That way, it's not necessary to, once that is accepted, it's not necessary for us to start arguing about which one came first, and it's obvious which one came first, isn't it?
Thank you, Judge.
Yes.
On that approach, Minister, we now know that the establishment of the work stream was designed to ensure that SASSA meets its deadline of March 2017, correct?
Mainly to ensure, yes, you are correct, but we were supposed to have a blueprint that we were going to follow in implementing what is in the SASSA Act.
I understand that. And we now know on the facts that from the work of the work streams, it became clear that SASSA would not meet that deadline. We've gone through that.
Yeah.
And it also became clear that from the advice and opinions SASSA received, there was a need to inform the Constitutional Court about that fact, correct?
Bisengishilo naqala.
Yes, I've said that before.
Yes. And the opinion also indicated that you have to disclose all the events that took place which made SASSA unable to meet the deadlines. You remember that?
Ay angizwe indlela obuzwa ngayo.
Well, I do not quite follow
Ngoba
the manner in which you're asking the question.
ngoba konke okula ku statement sam sobufakazi kunama appendix.
Can you give me the opinion?
Because in my statement here, there are appendices.
The opinion of Mr. Kasim that we have dealt with made it quite clear that SASSA had to disclose all the subsequent events which took place after the submission of the report to the Constitutional Court. That made it impossible for it to take over the payment of the grants by March 2017. We can go to that opinion, but
No, bese livumile nakuqala.
Well, Judge, we don't read the opinion to be saying they must disclose all. It's the all that I have difficulties with.
Judge,
Maybe you should be specific to what should be disclosed.
let me get the opinion so that I should not be accused by Mr. Kasim for misquoting him. It is in it is in page 148 of the license. That's this one. Minister, can I ask you to go to the black sash bundle? Can I ask you to look at page 148?
Yep.
And you'll see in paragraph 14.1, the opinion records the following. SASSA is to liaise with SAB in respect of the bin numbers issues. Whatever transpires at such meeting can form the basis of the approach the court in order to inform the court of the change in circumstances. Do you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
And I suggest to you that the change in circumstances means the events that took place after it became clear to you that SASSA would not meet the deadline. Can I invite you to comment in that regard?
Ay, angiqondi kahle ukuthi uthini.
I do not exactly understand, or I don't understand well what you are saying.
14.2, the most prudent approach in dealing with the court will in all likelihood be to approach the court on notice of motion supported by affidavit for direction as to whether the court wishes to resume supervisory jurisdiction in respect of the matter in light of the new developments and adjusted time frames. Do you see that?
Ngiyakubona.
I see it.
And the developments would, I suggest to you, be the work of the work streams which revealed that SASSA would be unable to take over the payment of the grants by the deadline.
Yini bin number?
What is bin number?
I don't know.
Ngishilo la ekuqaleni ukuthi sonke ingqondo zethu zayibheke ekutheni sihlangane khona sizokhuluma ngokuphela kwekhadi. Kodwa ama work stream athi angeke liphele ikhadi.
Well, it will be remembered that our concern at the time was about the expiry date of the card.
So aliphelanga ikhadi end of March,
The card did not expire by the end of March,
aliphelanga futhi ekupheleni konyaka lo esiphuma kuwona.
also not at the end of last year.
Kodwa lokho angisho ukuthi kuphikisa le legal opinion.
I'm citing this and not trying to refute this legal opinion.
Ngikhuluma nje ngoba izinto esasizenza zivele zibalekile.
I'm mentioning this because these were important things that we were so concerned about and were busy with.
Judge, I'd like to draw some conclusions that I would like to put to the Minister for her to comment.
Is this a problem forever? Are we going to have this problem forever? Thank you, Mr. Malik.
Minister, I'd like to draw some conclusions with reference to the two reasons in 65.2 and 3 that you gave in your statement. And the conclusions that I'd like you to reflect on and comment are the following. By all accounts, you yourself considered the establishment of the work streams to be a very important aspect of capacity that you wanted SASSA to develop. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes,
And you regarded the work of the work stream, in other words, their mandates, you regarded them as important in order to assist SASSA in developing that capacity, correct?
Yep.
yes,
And both the establishment of SASSA, of the work streams, and their mandates, which were vital matters to you, were important in order to ensure that SASSA would meet the deadline.
Yep.
yes,
And those were matters of truth, which, if ever a debate arose anyway about the capacity of SASSA, ought to be disclosed. Correct?
Yep.
yes,
And a disclosure on those matters of truth would not be sufficient unless it includes the date when the work streams were established. Correct?
Anginaso-ke isiqiniseko salokho.
I'm not sure about that.
The disclosure would not be enough unless it includes the disclosure of the mandates of the work streams. In other words, what were they required to do?
Angithi reporting kuyakhulunywa nge-advisory committee
In the report, there is mention of the advisory committee
eyenza ama-recommendation.
that came forward with the recommendations.
The disclosure would not be enough unless it told, as a matter of truth, the Constitutional Court about what the work streams were doing and how far they were doing at the time the disclosure was made.
Judge, again, we must say this is matter for argument. Really, we hold a different view altogether.
Yes, Mr. Malik.
Thank you. Judge, we don't want to be accused to advance an argument that we had not put the basis of that argument to the minister. But if you disallow the question, I will move on, Judge.
I think move on.
Thank you. Minister, there are few things that I'd like to deal with in closing. The first thing relates to the ministerial task team that you referred to in the course of your evidence. which included your evidence that Mr. Dango was part and parcel of that ministerial task team. I recall that you referenced that meeting in the context of the questions that were posed to you by Mr. Batlenda. You remember that?
Ministerial task team, fagi black sash.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ministerial, okay. You've answered that one before.
Yes. Mr. Dango, if is called upon to deal with the ministerial task team, will tell the judge that you established the task team. That will be correct, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes,
Nami ngishilo futhi.
and I did say so.
And that he co-chaired that task team with a representative of the Black Sash. Correct?
O sazobheka kodwa kwaqale kwaba uMr Magwaza
Yes.
owayebhekene neindaba eze task team.
Yes.
All right, we'll look into that, but it must be understood that initially it was Mr. Makwaza
Yes.
that was tasked.
Yes. But really the point is that the task team is your brainchild. You established it and appointed people in it, and two of the people who served in it was Mr. Dango and a representative of the Black Sash. Correct?
Yep.
Yes,
The mandate of the ministerial task team was different,
Yep.
yes.
and that mandate had nothing to do with the work of the work streams that you had established.
Kwakubheka ama deductions.
It was to look into the deductions
Enziwa i-service provider to ama beneficiary.
that would be fees, service fees that are charged by any service provider in serving the beneficiaries.
Akuwona ama service fees, ama deductions nje ezinto ezihlukile.
Or these are just deductions about other things. Okay, nonsense.
The point is this.
Okwesibili, abantu abaningi bebe reporter ku Black Sash.
And many
Mangabe
people-
baneleyo nkinga.
Many people who had such a problem used to report to the Black Sash.
So lokho kwasinceda futhi
That helped us
ukuthi sikwazi ukuyofaka emaphoyiseni udaba lwethu.
report to the police service a matter that we had.
Of unlawful deductions.
That was a matter of unlawful deductions.
Indeed. And that ministerial task team was rightly concerned with the legitimate issue which you as the minister had about the unlawful deductions which were made by these loan sharks from the grants payment that had been made to the beneficiaries, isn't it?
Not loan sharks only, the service provider too.
The service provider too. I won't go and mention their name for fear of a defamation claim. But the minister, the point is this, that because the mandate of the ministerial task team was different to the mandates of the work stream, there was no way the two would liaise with each other as far as you saw things.
Ubungozi balokho bekuwukuthi i-Black Sash izozenzela i-unfair advantage yokungena zonke indaba zakaSASSA.
The risk that was that Black Sash would now have free rein to get into everything.
Unfair advantage.
Okay, give themselves or we would have the unfair advantage of getting into all SASSA matters.
Mr. Kula, I'm sure we ought to. The last point is, the minister, yesterday you referred to, or was it day before yesterday, you referred to a concern that you picked up from a Noseweek article. And you said, as I remember, that because of what you read in the Newsweek article, you correctly took the view that you should approach SASSA
Yeah,
and
Yes.
call upon it to explain to you whether what the Newsweek reported was, as a matter of fact, correct. Remember that?
yebo kodwa later ngibuye ngathi much as ngikusebenzisile lokhu angithandi sikusebenzise ngoba leli akulona iphephabhuku likahulumeni.
Yes, although I did act that way, I did later point out that we should not rely too much on this publication because it is not a government publication
I understand
or
that.
an official
I
publication.
understand that. But you said something about that article with reference to Mr. Dango, and I'd like to clear that issue from his side. What we managed to do through our attorneys was to bring to the attention of the judge a copy of that Newsweek article, which you will find in Mr. Dango's bundle, beginning from page 307. It is not necessary to go there. I'm merely identifying it for the purposes of the record. You read that article, you asked questions about it, and you gave your evidence in that regard. The point that I'd like to raise is this. That the article, as far as I could pick up, is dated 1 July 2016. Do you see that?
Yeah,
Yes,
And in sequence, that date precedes your decision to appoint the work stream.
yeah.
yes.
And I assume,
Sorry, let me understand. It is dated 1 July
yes,
20,
16, Judge. If you go,
and the work streams were appointed.
9 July. No, sorry. I'm confusing myself. The work streams were appointed on the 9th of July 2015. The decision to appoint the work streams was communicated to SASSA on the 15th of July 2015. 9 July. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because I thought you had it the other way around. I thought you said the decision to appoint was 1 July 2016.
My apologies, Judge. My apologies.
So let's get it right.
Yeah.
That one is that, yes.
Minister, my apologies to you and to the judge. The article came after you had appointed the work streams.
No,
After you decided,
yes, that's something.
correct?
9 July, a letter from Minister to former SASSA CEO on the appointment of work streams.
Yes. So that article, when you read it and when it raised the concerns you did, came about after the work stream had been appointed and after the work stream had.
You keep on getting it wrong, Mr. Malik, isn't it? Either you or me is getting it wrong. The newspaper was published on 1 July 2016.
Yes, Judge.
By that time, a decision to establish the work streams had already been taken by the minister.
Indeed, Judge.
But I don't know whether you'd be correct to say by 1 July 2016, they had already been established. You could be right because there is some evidence that speak about June, July.
Yes. And my understanding, Judge, is that the work stream began with their work in August 2016.
Yeah.
And you will recall that the minister's evidence is that the work streams had to undertake a 2-month due diligence exercise. And I may be wrong in that regard, but that's my recollection of the evidence.
And they were established when? June, July. My recollection is June, July.
Indeed, Judge.
Yeah, okay.
Indeed.
All right.
Indeed. And I would respectfully suggest that on that approach, my sequencing of the events would be as close to the reality as has been explained by the Minister. But I can move on. I don't want to delay.
No, what you could do, as a matter of comment from the Minister, just to put it beyond doubt, you could ask the Minister whether, as at the time the newspaper was published on 1 July 2016, were the work streams definitely established already?
Yes. Judge,
That clarification is necessitated by the fact that, according to my recollection, there's mention of established June, July. So I'm not so sure about it.
yes. Minister, can we establish from you that, as far as you remember, by the time you read this article and by the time you went to SASSA, were the work streams already established as far as you could remember?
Kwasekuse process yokusayinwa kwama service level agreement.
We were at the point where we were signing service level agreements.
My instructions from Mr. Dango is that when you decided to visit SASSA, arising from the concerns you picked up from this article of Newsweek, you did not consult with him and you did not ask him to go with you to SASSA.
Lungile.
Okay.
But what is your comment? I mean, did you or did you not invite him to go with you to SASSA?
I-comment angizukisho ngoba sengishilo umuzwa wami ngendaba ye-article.
I will not comment
And-
because I've already expressed how I felt about the article.
And sengibonile i-attitude yala ukuthi ifuna ukugxila kakhulu ey'ntweni ey'bhaliwe.
And I can also pick up that the attitude here is to concentrate only on what is written.
So mangabe ungayibhalanga phansi into kube ngathi ayizange izibe khona, so ngi-right ngokuthi siyeke kanjalo singayixoxanga.
And it is as if something was not reduced down to writing, that thing never happened.
Judge, I've come to the end of my questions, and thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Where are we now? Thank you, Mr. Malik.
Judge, with your leave, before my learned friend Mr. Semenya for the Minister redirect, there is an aspect that I wanted to question the Minister on. It relates to a letter that she had in her earlier evidence. I think it was either in chief or under cross-examination. I think under cross-examination by Mr. Budlander, had referenced a letter that my client had addressed to her in 2017. We've managed to locate the letter, and in light of some of her evidence, we do believe it's relevant to put to her. I've asked my learned friend Mr. Semenya if he has any objection, and he's indicated he doesn't, subject to your direction, Judge.
Very well, proceed.
Thank you. Minister, I suppose I should say good afternoon again. I'm sorry that I've got to just put one aspect to you. If you would go to the black sash bundle, page 982.
Page?
982. I'm just going to check if it was inserted in the black sash bundle. It should be right at the end, Judge. Does Judge have it? Minister, do you have it?
Yes, I have.
Just for identification purposes for the record, it is a letter that's dated the 4th of April 2017, and it was addressed to you, Minister, by my client, Mr. Magwaza. It's marked top secret. Would you just look at the letter and confirm what I've said to you is correct, and then if you could thereafter confirm that that was the letter that you had referenced, I think, in answer to questions by my learned friend, Mr. Budlander.
Any question?
What was the question?
The question is, first of all, could you just confirm that this is a letter that was addressed to you, which you would have received from Mr. Magwaza? It's dated the 4th of April 2017. You'll find the date at the end of the letter.
In 4 March was scratchwa ngesandla kwabhalwa April ngaphansi.
The one I have here is a written for March, typed March, and then scratched out, and the month of April is inserted by hand.
That's correct. And you received that letter.
Yebo ngayithola.
Yes, I received the letter.
And was this the letter that you'd referenced in answering, I think, cross-examination questions from Mr. Budlander on either Monday or Tuesday? I don't recall.
I think you need to help the witness. I mean, you need to help the witness.
Yes, no,
she has answered so many questions.
No, certainly I
Since
will.
Mr. Budlander put
Yeah,
questions to her.
you'll recall it was in connection, I think, with the work streams. You were taken to the minutes of a meeting in April, which perhaps I could just take you to, which refers to that letter. If you go to the black sash bundle, Minister, I'll return to the letter in a moment. Page 248 of the black sash bundle. Does Judge have it? Do you have it, Judge?
Yes, I do.
Minister, do you have it? I'm told not yet. We'll just wait for Minister to catch up. It's the SASSA bundle, page 254. The minutes start at page 248. Minister, you'll see those.
Sorry, is it SASSA or Black Sash?
It's the SASSA bundle. Sorry, Judge.
Sorry,
It's the
we
SASSA
thought
bundle.
you meant.
We'll return to the Black Sash bundle in a moment, the letter, but I just wanted to assist on your direction, the Minister, in orientating herself. You'll see, Minister, that at page 248, there was a meeting of the EXCO of SASSA that was held on the 19th, 20th of April. You have been referred to it previously.
One, two,
It starts at page 248,
okay.
and then I wanted to take you to page 254.
Yeah,
You have been shown this before. I'm in the third paragraph, which starts with Ms. Mvalani, also advised. Then I wanted you to go to the third sentence, which starts with Mr. Magwaza. Informed the meeting that he has written to the Minister raising his concern about the parallel processes and has requested a meeting with the Minister to discuss the matter. You recall that?
April 1920 April. Ngiyayibona.
Yes, I can see this. Sorry, I can
And
see this.
The letter I took you to at page 982 of the Black Sash bundle, that is the letter that was referenced there, and you had, in your earlier testimony, mentioned a letter that Mr. Magwaza had written to you. Do you recall in 2017 after the Constitutional Court order in March?
Akuyona kuphela iletha engayibhalelwa uMr Magwaza lena.
That was not the only letter that Mr. Makwaza wrote to me.
Well,
After April 2017.
all right, but let's just focus on this particular letter just for the moment. You
So,
have
ngicabanga ukuthi kungenzeki iphutha sisebenzise le letter kuphela zibe zikhona ezinye incwadi ezabhalwa.
I'm pointing this out so that we do not make the error of focusing on this letter only when there are other letters that were written.
I appreciate that, but Minister, for the purposes of the record, we haven't seen any other letters that were written by Mr. Magwaza to you around this time in 2017. But of course, through your legal team, you are at liberty to place them before this inquiry. And we'll accept your evidence at face value that you say there were other letters, and if you're able to point them out through your counsel at some later stage, we can deal with them. But if we could just deal with this letter, which we have been able to locate now. Can we deal with the letter, Minister? Thank you.
Lalela.
Yes, you may go ahead. I'm listening.
You'll see that it's marked top secret. It says in paragraph 1 that the Constitutional Court judgment was handed down on 17 March 2017 refers, and there's a request for a meeting between your good self and I to discuss the issues relating to the implementation of the Constitutional Court judgment. You see that?
Yebo ngiyabona.
Yes, I can see it.
And I'm not going to go through all aspects of the letter, but just concentrate on a few aspects. If there are any that you wish to bring to the judge's attention, you're at liberty to do so. Then paragraph 3, he deals with, my considered view is that as the accounting office, authority and office of SASSA, I have responsibility to ensure that SASSA delivers on its mandate. This responsibility that is expected of me in terms of the PFMA, in particular sections 49 and 57, entails ensuring that SASSA complies with the PFMA and its statutory provisions, which includes taking charge of the processes to ensure that SASSA has a solution to continue paying social grants after the 12-month extension period by the court. You see that?
Ngiyabona.
Yes, I
And
can
then
see it.
he says, I was encouraged by the submission of the South African Post Office, SAPO, at the court, which brought the recognition that SAPO can be considered to partner with SASSA in the delivery of social grants. You see that?
ikhoti yaxoxa ngesab ngicela ukubuza ukuthi ikhoti iyaxoxa yathini ngesapho ngoba iyodwa icomment engayizwa eyashiwo uJudge or Chief Justice ngendaba ye-post office.
May I please be reminded what was discussed in there, because I am only aware of one,
A comment
one comment
by Chief
by
Justice.
the Chief Justice. I'm only aware of that one comment by the Chief Justice.
Relating to the post office.
Yeah,
Yes, I don't think we need to concentrate on that aspect in any greater detail. What he does go on to say is this calls for the resuscitation of the engagement with SAPA that was sanctioned by the Supreme Court of Appeal and indirectly by the Constitutional Court in the CPS versus SASSA and SAPA matter.
ngiyakubona lokho.
Then I can see.
Yes. Then he goes on to say in paragraph 4, there have been situations that concerned me as the accounting officer. And he says this includes the processes leading to the current Constitutional Court proceedings where the Minister and SASSA ran parallel processes. Under normal circumstances, the Minister, SASSA and the CEO are separate legal persons represented by different legal representatives, although SASSA and the CEO share the legal representation. However, it is unfortunate that during the court process that gave rise to the judgment on the matter brought by Black Sash Trust, all three were represented by the same legal representatives who did not take instructions from SASSA and or the CEO. This was after the legal representatives for SASSA and CEO were withdrawn, apparently on the Minister's instructions. Would you like to comment on that?
Okay, la okokuqala ngicabanga ukuthi sesixoxile indaba ye-affidavit eya-withdraw.
Well, I think first of all we have already covered the matter of the affidavit that was withdrawn.
Okwesibili, manje siyakhuluma ngendaba ye-post.
And now we're talking about the post office.
Kade yadlula le ndaba le ecourt.
This matter went through court a long time ago.
Kumsebenzi esiqhubekayo siyawenza manje.
It is work we are currently busy with.
Angifuni ukufaka izinto eshiwo i-post office.
I don't want to mention things that the post office is saying
Nge-readiness yayo yokwenza umsebenzi.
about its readiness to do this work.
Ngoba ukuba sifuna ukubeka i-argument ethi yonke into ya-disturba i-functioning ye-post office, iy'ngxoxo zamanje zizophikisa lokho.
Because if we now say everything disturbed the functioning of the post office, the matters on the table will show that is not the case.
Okokugcina,
Lastly,
indaba ye-post office ayiqali ngomnumzana uMagwaza.
this post office matter does not start with Mr. Wakwaza.
Mhlawumbe uma ngifuna ukuhlehla ngibuyele emuva.
Maybe if I could take a step back,
UMinister Mulewa
Minister Mulewa
wayeqalile ingxoxo ne-post office.
had started discussions with the post office.
Mangabe advisory committee isebenza,
When the advisory committee works,
ngakusho ukuthi i-post office ingasali la njoba i-state entity.
or as it was working, I did-
Minister, just please don't go far too much back.
Thank you, Judge. I didn't want to interrupt you. Minister, let's just move on. Paragraph 6, I'm going to read it to you and I'm going to suggest to you and invite you to comment that this and other aspects of the letter, but particularly paragraph 6, brings to your attention that the problem raised by Mr. Magwaza concerning the parallel processes with the work stream leaders that had been put in place was not resolved after the meeting of the 24th of October, as you suggested had, and it remained an ongoing issue. But let me just read paragraph 60 and then invite you to comment. It is important that the Minister provides me with the opportunity to lead and manage SASSA in a manner that will allow me to take full responsibility and accountability for the commissions and omissions of SASSA. This opportunity will include 6.1, the work streams as a matter of urgency, providing reports that relate to the expected deliverables of each work stream as per their respective terms of reference and or service level agreement. 6.2, maintaining the status of the work stream leaders as consultants, i.e. independent contractors and not involved in the day-to-day operations of SASSA. 3, the work streams and the project manager reporting to and taking instructions from the CEO. 4, the work streams not to recommend and implement their recommendations to avoid perceptions of conflict of interest. 5, SASSA implementing the court order. 6, delineation and the administrative and executive authority responsibilities. Now, would you comment on that in light of your evidence that, as far as you were concerned, after the issue had been raised at the meeting of the 24th of October 2016, the concern that Mr. Magwaza had in relation to the work streams had been taken care of?
Ngithe ama-perceptions abantu uma yehlezi ekhanda as if into abayishoyo i-real ngeke ubasize ukuthi bawasuse ekhanda labo.
Well, I said, when people think that their perceptions are reality, there is no way that you can remove that from their head or their mind.
But okunye kukhona umhlangano esahlangene kuwo. Ngimmemile uMr. Magwaza.
There's a meeting to which I had invited Mr. Magwaza,
Wangeza ngase ngithumela
and he did not attend it.
uMr. Shays ukuthi ayokhuluma naye.
And then I sent Mr. Shazy to go and talk to him.
When was that meeting?
Yayingo 28 March.
It was on the 28th of March.
So ngine problem futhi ukuthi this letter kwangenzeka ukuthi ibhalwe before that, and that's why kuscratchiwe la lo March sekubhalwe April.
And I also have a problem because it appears to me that this letter could have been written even before that date, which is why it has been amended by hand.
And leyo meeting ibizonika umnumzane uMagwaza ithuba eliphelele lokuthi sonke sazi ukuthi ufuna kwenzekeni.
That meeting was a good opportunity for Mr. Magwaza to disclose to everybody exactly how he expected things to stand.
Ngiyabonga.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. What we know is, you've said people have perceptions and they become their reality. But you would have been aware that the ongoing perception, at least of Mr. Magwaza, was that there was this parallel process which was paralyzing SASSA's ability to comply with the Constitutional Court order.
Judge, really, we have gone past this point, and I was made to understand that this is purely to table this document.
Mr. Sol.
Judge, I'm not sure I don't want to use the word perception that my learned friend had, but what notion he had. I asked him if he had any objection. If we had this letter, we came to our attention. If I put this to the Minister, obviously that entailed questioning her on the letter. I'm not going to go beyond this letter, on the contents of the letter.
But now you're trying to cross-examine on perceptions.
Well, Judge,
I don't even know whether that's going to have any evidential value.
she raised it, but I won't, it's her word about perception and reality.
Because we can all understand that what she's saying. We can all understand that she's saying that, well, Mr. Magwaza had that perception.
No,
That is his problem.
yeah,
And then you can counter that if you so wish
yeah.
by referring to documents to bolster your argument.
Yeah. We'll leave it for argument, but if I could just make this point, Minister, what will be argued by Mr. Magwaza, or on behalf of Mr. Magwaza, is that whether his perception was correct or incorrect, we're not going to debate. But you would have known that that perception of his continued, and that's the point. Would you comment?
You might wish, Mr. Solomon, without me trying to micromanage your questioning, you might wish to put it to him. If you think the perception, whatever you think of the perception, if you feel that it's not a matter of perception is what happened, you put it to the witness.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to curtail this thing of
I'm also trying to.
wrestling about this perception.
I'm going to leave it for argument, Judge. I don't think it needs to, the point needs to be belaboured. Simply to say to you, Minister, this is what was conveyed to you. You said it may have been earlier than the 4th of April. Is that what you're saying? That the date's incorrect?
No, ngicela singakhulumi ngale nto le because confused.
Let us rather not talk about this because this is confusing.
Ngoba uma ngingahlala phansi ngibheke yonke lento ngiyiphendule noma engasekho umnumzana uMagwaza.
Because if I were to sit down and begin to look at each and every allegation made, even after Mr. Magwaza had left,
Okunye kungaba neimpendulo zakhona but njengoba ijaji ishilo
answers could come, could surface, but just as the judge has said,
ngenelisekile angifuni ukukhuluma okukhulu.
well, I'm happy as it is. I don't want to say more.
No, well, it's not just that simple. Sorry, Mr. Minister. I asked you a question, at least by the 4th of April or perhaps sooner, you're aware that this was a recordal of Mr. Magwaza's difficulties, at least with regard to the parallel processes as he saw it.
Yiko ngithi la lencwadi eqaleni ngithe njoba sixoxa la sihloniphekile kabi.
Well, I said, as we are all sitting here, we are honorable people, very much so.
But kukhona ezinye izinto ezazenzeka eceleni kwalencwadi. So ngishilo ngathi sengenelisekile engishilo.
I'm happy about what I've said because other than this letter, there were many other things that were happening in the sites.
Let's move on. If we go to paragraph 10 of the letter, he indicates that he requested a meeting for an attempt to create space for us to engage, reflect and discuss matters of importance that if not discussed and cleared have a potential to create confusion within SASSA. He says, I believe that SASSA has competent people at the right levels that should be utilized to their full potential. I do not want to preempt the outcome of our meeting. In fact, I'm positive that we will come to an agreement. However, in the unexpected event that we are not in a position to agree, that as the accounting officer, the overall strategic and operational administration of SASSA is bestowed on me in terms of the PFMA, and I should be allowed to lead and manage SASSA, I will regard that as a dispute and suggest that we agree on approaching the Public Service Commission as a matter of urgency to mediate or arbitrate on this issue. Otherwise, SASSA may not be in a position to comply with the court order and its objectives that arise from its main mandate. you like to comment on that?
Ngicabanga ukuthi le ngokwami kwakuyi-public relations exercise.
Well, according to me, this was a public relations exercise.
Ngoba nasekuqaleni sishilo ukuthi ama-work stream ayengasebenzi ngawodwana, ayesebenza nama-executive.
Because we have already mentioned that the work streams were not working in isolation. They were working in conjunction with the executives.
Sinawo futhi ama-minute approvayo lokho.
And we have minutes to prove that.
Minister, just finally, in light of this letter, I want to suggest to you, and it will be argued on behalf of Mr. Magwaza in due course, that the time when you filed your affidavit before the Constitutional Court on the 31st of March 2017, you had become aware, brought to your attention, that Mr. Magwaza remained dissatisfied with the parallel processes that had been created by the establishment of the work streams.
Ngishilo futhi ukuthi uMr Magwaza wathi umsebenzi wakhe omunye azowenza kaSASSA umnumzane Van Friede ukubulala ama-work stream.
I did mention that to Mr. Van Friede. Mr. Magwaza did mention that part of his duty, he thought, would be to dismantle or terminate the work streams.
But indlela ayisebenzisa uma ngabe esewa terminator ama-work stream kwaba indlela yokuthi asedlule ibudget yawo.
And
Ayizange kube ukuthi aparallel.
the reason given at the time for such a decision by Mr. Magwaza was not because they had outlived their usefulness, but it was because of budget constraints.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. With your leave, no further questions.
Just to remind me, I can't remember whether, Minister, whether we did locate in terms of time, as to when Mr. Van Friede told you this. I know we talked about this a day or two back, but I can't remember whether you were able to tell as to when did Mr. Van Friede tell you about this, that Mr. Magwaza wanted to terminate the work streams.
Logo ngabuzwa ngomunye wabasebenzi.
I got that through one of the employees.
Uma ebona sesixakekile kakhulu.
When that person saw that things were really getting to a head.
Wangitshela ukuthi uxoxe no Mr. Van Friede.
Is it a he or she?
He,
Okay. And he told me that he had spoken with
Mr. Van Friede.
Mr. Van Friede.
Do you remember when was that? When this person told you that? Can you or can you not remember? It doesn't matter. If you can't remember, you tell me you can't remember. But if you can remember, tell me.
Angikhumbuli kahle kodwa engikukhumbulayo ukuthi uMr. Van Friede ngakhuluma naye ecingweni ngambiza futhi ngimcela ukuthi mangabe kunesimo esinje why ungabhali eaffidavit.
I may not remember the exact date, but I remember that I discussed this with him over the telephone and then later even called him and put it to him that under such circumstances it would be appropriate for him to produce an affidavit.
Ngachaza futhi ukuthi udaba ngagcina ngiliyekile ngoba mangikhuluma naye wathi why ngingakhulumisani nomnumzane uMagwaza.
And I did say earlier that I did not pursue the matter further because he then started asking why it was that I did not straighten things out between me and Mr. Magwaza.
Yes, I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
you said that. Mr. Solomon, are you finished now? I take it.
I'm not going to. I'm finished.
Are you all right? Mr. Semenya, you want us to adjourn for 5 minutes or so to resume?
We can take a
Re-exam?
comfort break.
Or are you ready?
I'm ready, but we can take a comfort break.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I don't need it. If you are ready, unless other people need that comfort. Mr. Kulu, are you all right?
Well, I'm comfortable.
All right, okay. Mr. Semenya?
Thank you, Judge. Minister, let us look at your statement, the one prepared for this hearing.
Yep.
Do you want to read to us what appears as your last paragraph on the document?
The
The
seventh one.
very last.
This statement summarizes the central facts relevant to the questions at issue in this inquiry. I reserve the right to supplement the statement should this be necessary.
And the record will show that you did amplify the reasons why the work streams were not mentioned in the affidavit, did you?
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry,
No,
Mr.
no.
Semenya, I was just trying to locate something. I'm afraid you'll have to repeat what you have just said now.
That the witness in her evidence and answers to questions put to her did amplify her reasons why the work streams were not mentioned in her affidavit before the Constitutional Court. Let's go to another matter. The pronoun you, as well as the pronoun we, has throughout been used interchangeably with regard to SASSA as an institution, to you as a minister. Am I right?
Yep.
Yes.
Now, let us try and distinguish the promise to the Constitutional Court in November of 2015 that there would be grant payments made by SASSA itself come end of March 2017. Who made it? Was it you, the minister, or SASSA, the institution?
The institution.
And you'd recall Mr. Butlander referred you to a letter of the state attorney that was written in April already of 2016, long before the promise to the court was made. In paragraph 4, I want you to read what the SASSA, the institution, was already saying.
The promise was made in the fourth report to the Constitutional Court, which was before April 2016.
Now I'm trying to cover, I'm saying before the work streams were decided upon, I thought to say, sorry. Sorry.
Also, after the work streams were decided upon, but before they were started.
Okay, let me just take you back to the document. You will find it as a black sash, as a black sash bundle D, page 174 to 176.
Black session must always be this side.
It is the black sash bundle. It's marked D, but the pages is 174 to 176.
Page 1.
174 to 176, Judge. But maybe let me put the question without reference to any document. SASSA, the institution, if you know, when did it ever hold a view that it would be able to deliver the social grants by itself come end of March of 2017?
I think a commitment yalogo yavela ngoba sekune court ruling. Kodwa futhi nathi sasinohlelo njenge institution ngoba sasakhelwe lokho ukuthi kufanele ukuthi siwenze lo msebenzi senza policy statement.
Okay. Yes, I must say that came about especially after the court ruling, but even before then, as an institution, we were working towards a similar ideal.
So senza budget speech commitment yokuthi by the 1st of April so bese sithathe over umsebenzi.
This was emanating from the budget speech that by the 1st of April, we should have been in a position to pay social grants in-house.
Minister, again, if you are able to distinguish, you see the pronoun we, again confuses the minister as an entity and SASSA as an entity. If you are able in your answers to distinguish who is making what promise, please help us and do that.
Oh, ngicela ukusiza ngokuthi uma ngabe senza policy speech suke sikhona sonke SASSA, NDA, social development sikhomitha sonke lapho a budget speech or policy statement.
Okay, when it comes to policy statements, many parties are involved. That would be the Ministry
SASSA, social
SASSA,
development.
Social
is
Development
important.
as a department. Okay.
Now, apart from the work streams, did SASSA have a program through which they were going to be able to deliver the grants came 1 April of 2017?
Angikhumbuli.
None that I'm aware of.
If there was one, would you have been aware of it?
Bengizoyazi ngoba le bekuyindaba eshisa ibunzi.
Yes, I should have, because this was something very important that everyone was talking about.
The establishment of the task teams, this happens when in the calendar year?
The advisory work streams.
The ministerial task team.
Okay. Angithi kube ne advisory committee
There was the advisory committee,
kwase kuba nama work stream.
then there were work streams.
Ama work stream siwenze ngesikhathi i-advisory committee isinikezile i-report yenza nama recommendation. Ngicabanga ukuthi kwakula o-2015 usuyophela.
Yes, the advisory committee came forward with its recommendations. It was out of that that the whole idea of forming the work streams emanated.
Minister, the mistake is mine. I must have described it as a technical team. When in the calendar year do we now have the technical team? The one including the Reserve Bank and other things.
I-technical team iqale ukusebenza ngalesikhathi esesisenkingeni.
The technical team started zooming in when we were now at loggerheads with the situation.
Are you able to locate what period in the year this is?
Ngicabanga ingathi kwakuwo November, December. Yes, kwaku around November, December.
Yes, I think the record will show that. Before November, December, technical team was in place. What else was running parallel with the work streams?
Akukho.
Nothing.
Can we now discuss what happens in December of 2016? This is now with regard to the decision where your evidence is that you were almost ready to sign an affidavit to make a report to the Constitutional Court. You remember that?
Yebo ngiyakhumbula.
Yes, I remember that.
I had your evidence to also say that there were lawyers there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you give us more detail? Which lawyers are you referring to?
Kwaku amaloya ayekade esebenza ne-work stream kodwa bafuna abantu abaseceleni.
These were lawyers that were working together with a work stream.
Yeah.
Work stream.
Yep, iwe angithi le work stream yayibheka legal and legislative
This was the
adjustments.
This was the work stream that was focusing on legal and legislative adjustments.
And when you say that you are almost ready with a report to file with the Constitutional Court, what document do you have in mind there?
Ngikhumbula ukuthi babephethe i-document eyayisho ukuthi eyayichaza Constitutional Court ukuthi ngendlela okubonakala ngayo angeke sikwazi ukuthi ngo March 31 sibe sesi-ready ukukhokha.
They were talking about the document to the Constitutional Court, indicating that it would not be possible for SASSA to pay the social grants in-house by the given deadline of end of March 2017.
And in that December, you told us the attitude of Mr. Magwazo.
Yebo sasikhona thina
Yes, we were there.
nomnumzane Dangu
Mr. Damo was too.
sase siyamfonela ke
Sorry, wait, no, Mr. Damo.
yes babe khona nabanye. Okay, ngangitshela uzodwa and then ngase ngithi aka convene i-meeting.
Well, Azora had told me, and then I said she should convene a meeting.
Then leyo meeting kwenziwa i-presentation
And in that meeting, a presentation was made.
and satshela ukuthi ku-late kufanele sisheshise si-submit le affidavit.
We were told at that meeting, via that presentation, that we were late and we needed to submit.
Yes,
the
you've told us that, Minister.
Sase
What up-
samshayela umnumzane uMagwaza sasho ukuthi kunabameli lana. Samshayela ucingo yebo.
And we telephoned Mr. Magwaza telling him that we were sitting in the presence of lawyers.
And why say eyasho ukuthi one usafuna ukuyibheka naye le affidavit.
And he pointed out that he also wanted to look into that, or to
Affidavit.
peruse that affidavit.
Okwesibili uzobuya kuthina ngoJanuary.
And he would come back to us in January.
You understood by his answer that the report must be done later or that it had to be done still in December. How did you understand his response?
I-response iyangibonisa ukuthi angeke sifake ngoDecember i-affidavit ngoba washo kwacaca umnumzane Magwaza ukuthi uzobuya kuthina ngoJanuary.
Well, it became clear then that we would not be able to submit the affidavit in December because Mr. Magwaza said it very clearly that he would only get back to us in January.
The other area where you were questioned relates to what transpired in the meeting of 11 October 2016. This is where we have the notes of Mr. Dango. Remember that?
Yeah,
Yes.
Were you at that meeting?
mhla ka-11 ngangingekho.
On the date of the 11th, no, I was not.
This is the time when Mr. Dango raises a concern relating to parallel reporting systems. What capacity was he at that stage?
He was a special advisor to the minister.
Did he advise the minister that there are concerns at that date relating to the reporting structure that was created by you?
Ngaleso sikhathi akazange.
At that time, definitely not.
According to the documents, he only does that in 2017. Is that right?
Yebo SODG.
Yes, now in his new capacity as DG.
If he felt that you needed to be cautioned about it as a special advisor, did he have the latitude to bring it to your attention?
As a special advisor.
As a special advisor, that is.
Yebo cha. Akukho la akhuluma khona.
According to the style of
At
work,
no point did he actually do it in that capacity.
in the style with which you were working, were you supposed to ask him first before he could give you that advice if he held the view that he expresses in January of the following year?
Indlela kade sisebenza ngayo besikade sisebenzisana no mnumzane uDango. Bekade kuthi kwesinye isikhathi besikade sibambisene bekuthi mhlambe mangiya kweminye imihlangano ngihambe naye.
Well, before, when things started out, we were working very well. We used to cooperate. We used to go together to meetings.
Are you aware of any constraints that could have been on him not to raise such a critical thing with you as a special advisor?
Angwazi
I'm not aware.
ngoba ube umuntu mangabe kuukuthi ufuna ukungiphikisa angiphikise makumele ukuthi angiphikise.
Because he always felt, and it was correct for him, to oppose any view that I came forward with when it was appropriate to do so.
Regarding various questions put to you regarding minutes. You remember those questions? Minutes of the steering committee, minutes of EXCO, etc., etc. You remember you asked various questions around those.
Yebo.
Yes.
Do you know who compiled those minutes?
Angazi ukuthi ubani owabhala ama-minutes.
I do not know who compiled the minutes.
With reference to those meetings where you were absent, are you able to comment about the veracity or correctness of those minutes?
angeke ngikwazi ngaphandle kwala kwakunomhlangano kwathathwa isinqumo sa 18 months lapho kwaphuma isigijimi.
Well, normally I wouldn't, except for one meeting where the decision was taken involving the 18 months.
La kwathunyelwa uZodwa Mfulani ukuthi azongitshela ukuthi umhlangano we-executive uthathe lesi sinqumo.
Zodwa Mvulane was dispatched to me to report that the EXCO had taken that decision.
The question is, are you able to comment about the correctness and veracity of those minutes?
Cha.
No.
Various questions were put to you about the remissness of SASSA, you recall, relating to it reporting the possibility of it being unable to meet the deadline for the delivery of social grants. Remember, there were a whole series of questions there.
Yes.
Were you aware that these lawyers pointed to any remissness on the part of the minister now?
No.
There is also it was put to you that Mr. Magwaza at a certain point says to you that he must confine himself to the day-to-day functioning of SASSA. Do you recall that? Do you remember that evidence?
Yes, I remember.
Was that ever said to Mr. Magwaza during the 2016 period? If it was ever said to him?
Cha.
No.
You have also told us about a project payment model in terms of which a management company was going to be put in place to implement the recommendations of the advisory committee. Remember that?
Yebo ngiyakhumbula.
Yes, I do remember that.
And you gave us a figure that that payment model would have had, being a 799,964,578 rand 87. You remember that?
Yep.
Yes.
Your decision that one of the work streams must act as a lead project manager, was it resisted by anybody in SASSA?
Cha akekho ophikisa.
No, nobody did.
Were you aware that if Mr. Magwaza or anybody of SASSA wanted to participate in the workstream activities, that they were precluded in doing that?
Cha.
No.
Was a complaint raised with you that, you know, we want to participate with these work streams, but we are not having access at all, i.e. by Mr. Dango or by Mr. Magwaza at all? Was it ever brought to your attention? I think I'm speaking a little too fast. By either Mr. Dango or Mr. Magwaza, with a complaint that we want to participate, but we are precluded from any participation?
Cha.
No.
While you are on that, each work stream, I know that Ms. Mbulani was the project manager, but these work streams, were they each headed by an outsider, somebody from outside?
Yep.
Yes.
like
Oh.
Mr. Metcalf.
Mr. Metcalf, uyingxenye yale work stream ye banking.
Mr. Metcalf is part of the banking work stream.
Anyway, yes, your answer to my question as to whether the work streams were headed by people from outside, your answer is yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's go back again to the establishment of the technical teams.
Yep.
You have already told us this is now November, December of 2016.
Yep.
Yes.
And you have already told us that their aim was to try and see if they can find a quick solution to meet the promise made to the Constitutional Court about SASSA being able to make the grants.
Yep.
Yes.
Did they come with a solution which was capable of meeting that deadline of 31 March 2017?
Ayikho ehlukile. Kwabuyelwa kule ka CPS.
Nothing else other than CPS.
This is now the solution involving the post office, am I right?
Yep.
Do you know where Mr. Magwaza was before he came to SASSA?
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi ngiyazi kodwa mhlawumbe ingqondo yami scattered njengamanje.
Well, I think I do know, but maybe my mind could be a little bit scattered at the moment.
Njenga government pensions. Yeah, indawo ebalekile ngiyazi yayisebenza ekuyona government pensions.
One thing I do remember was government pensions.
Those, Judge, are the questions we have in REACts.
The next witness would be actually would be Mr. Makwana.
Judge, your mic is off. We can't hear you.
In terms of the way forward, I notice it's 4:45. And everybody must be tired, especially Mr. Kulu. I have a profound understanding of your position because many years ago when most people in here were not yet born, I worked for 2 weeks as an interpreter and I gave up. I left.
And especially because this morning I had to be here at 2:45.
Yeah.
And I could probably be the one person living farthest from this point.
Yes.
And because of traffic constraints in the morning, I had to get up very.
I just left it. I said, I don't want this job anymore. I can't cope. I left it. And I don't regret that. The next witness would be Mr. Makwaza. Unless I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself tomorrow morning. I'm tired now. The next witness would be Mr. Makwaza. And we agreed that we can stop now and start at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And, oh yes, before that, maybe Mr. Semenya would want to know whether we should excuse the minister as a witness. And is there any reason why we shouldn't excuse the minister as a witness? If she wants to come and attend, she may, but I'm releasing her from the obligation to attend, unless somebody objects to that.
That would suit the minister very fine.
Yes. So, Minister, you are excused
Thank you.
as a witness. Thank you very much.
Yebo.
We are adjourned until tomorrow then. You can take one.